Good morning, everyone. Good evening,
Good morning.
friends and family in India. Thanks, everyone, for joining us today.
Good morning, everyone.
We will give another couple of minutes before we start so that more people might be able to join us. I can see my parents are here from India joining us. My dad, Dr. Chokkalingam, is a cardiologist in Chennai. He's been practicing over 50 years. My mother is a pathologist, Dr. Santamarai. She's also from Chennai. So if you want to say hello to our friends here, you're most welcome.
Hello to all of you. I'm Anand's mom, and I'm a retired professor of pathology.
Hello, dear all. How are you all? Nice to see how we have become so close globally. World has really become very small. I really appreciate Anand, how he is effectively utilizing his time despite this COVID environment. Life must keep going irrespective of the environment. Does not matter. You must be able to live our life nicely. I really appreciate Anand. He's not only my son, he's one of my best students of mine in our Madras Medical College. I'm so proud about him. I am really anxious to hear from the students, and now he has become my teacher. I'm learning a lot from him. I'm sure that everyone will be interested in knowing more and more. My best wishes, Anand. Take care.
Thanks for joining, Dad. My sister Priya is also here. She is doing a lot of cardiac wellness and rehab work in Chennai, along with my dad. So I'd like her also to say hello to our group. You'll have to unmute, Priya.
Thank you for introducing me. Hi, this is Priya here. I'm a preventive cardiologist based in Chennai, India, and I'm Anand's younger sister. Glad to be part of this session today. So look forward to his, lecture. Like always, I'm sure it's going to be interesting. All the best, Anand.
Excellent, excellent. So we have a lot of people in here. Last summer, my sister Priya gave a grand rounds here about cardiac arrhythmias, channelopathies, and that was very well received by our group. And my dad, every year he comes here, he gives lectures for our cardiology and medicine residents and postgraduates. So I'm glad they are able to join us today. I see Anne is here. How are you, Brady? Good to see you all. So I think we can go ahead and get started.
Your subject, Amy.
Oh, okay. General, go ahead.
Anybody wants to say a couple of quick comments before we go ahead and get started? Another 1 minute we might have.
Vanati, what is your comment, Vanati?
Hi, everyone. Login.
Introduce yourself and
As unmute Vanati. Vanati must unmute.
Hearing me? Hello?
Yes, now fine.
Hi, Anand. Hi, Uncle, Auntie. Nice seeing you all. Waiting for a rocking performance from Anand today.
good,
Thank
good,
you.
Vanati. I've known Dr. Vanati now for over 20 years. She's a dermatologist in Chennai. Glad you could join us. She's a person who is very passionate about wellness and health. So I'm glad she's joining us today.
Thank you.
We'll go ahead and get started unless anyone else has any other quick Hello. Anne, Brady, do you want to say anything? How did you like the last session, Anne?
Let's see, just a minute. The last session was very good, but we discovered that the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak.
What do you mean by that?
That's, you know, a common saying here, and that is that we, you know, some of the things that sounded so simple last week to do, we really haven't done them the way we would like to. So, you know, onward and upward, we'll try harder, but it seems so simple to do the fast that you said. We've done that a bit, but we've done some exercises, but several of the other things that we thought, oh yes, of course, we'll start that and do it immediately and it'll all be wonderful. We're working on it.
Excellent, Anne. So Anne is a person who is so passionate. Many people here are new, Anne, so I'm going to have to introduce you to our group. So Anne has been in Colombia, I would say, for ages, and she looks out for everybody in our town, especially our children. She has a Children's Grow program to get an opportunity for children to grow and participate in the community at deeper levels. And I'm so glad Anne and Brady, our chancellor, are both joining us today from MU. And these are ongoing efforts that we make to make our life as, I would say, interesting as possible. So when you say you're finding it hard, the thing I hear from that is that you're trying. That's all really matters. So with that nice preamble, we'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to share my slides. You'll have to tell me if you can see the first slide. Do you see the slides as a full screen? Yes?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Okay. I'll request you to mute your system so that we don't have any interruptions. So today is the second of the 6 series that we are covering on heartful living. This has been going on now for 5 years, thanks to the VA Whole Health organization on Fridays, but now we are moving it entirely online. So this is my way of connecting with you individually, coming to your home and sharing my experience and our patients' experience over the last 10 years journey, so that it might inspire you to do a little better every day towards your own health. That's the entire idea behind this. So today we'll talk about this huge diet, what it is and how it might help you cope with the coronavirus challenges, understand how this works in the background of intermittent fasting, and ultimately how it helps us improve our heart health and thereby optimize our overall health as well. So the disclosure is HilifeJourney.org. I invite you to participate in this nonprofit diary where within a minute you can document how you've done each day. So over a few weeks, few months, it might give you a little deeper insight into how as an individual we operate. So Taoism says, in the pursuit of knowledge, every day something is added. In the pursuit of enlightenment, however, every day something is dropped. We all wonder whether our cup is half full, how we can not look at it as half empty. But there are so many challenges. Now with the coronavirus, most of the world is still facing so much shutdown and loss of economic productivity. In India, it translates into so many people struggling to get food on their plates because it's a poor country with people a lot of times doing day work, and if they cannot go to work, they cannot get food on the table. So if the coronavirus doesn't threaten life, it's just a plain hunger that is going to threaten human life. So that's the sad reality that our world faces today as we come together in this discussion. Now, this is what WHO recommends. Majority carbohydrates, some protein, and some fat in our diet, and 400 grams at least of fruits and vegetables with very, very little empty sugars or free sugars that is added to our everyday diet. If you look at the recommendation for women, it is about 2000 calories and men 2500 calories every day for average adult average activity. And unfortunately, in the last 30, 40 years, in the United States, from this 2000, we have jumped to nearly double the amount of consumption, not once in a week, but every day. This much food consumption is not going to be compatible with health unless we are able to burn that much calories, and that requires several hours of intense activity every day if we want to just balance out for each day. So this is the reality that not only the United States, but most of the world is facing at the same time that we deal with all these present day challenges. So I was not around in 1950, but this picture compares how McDonald's looked in 1950 versus the same portions in the present day. So this was what was served for an individual compared to what it is served now. And what it translates is way more food than we can handle. So this slide we looked at last week. For worldwide, waist circumference of 40 for men and 35 for women increases the risk of cardiac and metabolic problems. In India, unfortunately, because we have so much higher incidence of diabetes and heart disease, any waist circumference, pant size of over 35 for men and over 31 inches for women is considered higher risk. And anything higher than that is going to significantly keep increasing the risk for heart problems, diabetes, metabolic issues like obesity, high blood pressure and other problems. So how much is the healthiest body fat percentage that we can target? Now we have so many sophisticated tools, and in many gyms and physical fitness centers throughout the world, we see tools where you can directly stand on a scale which will measure not only your weight but also your body fat percentage. I am reasonably thin. My body fat percentage is about 20%. So for men, we should target less than 15%, and for women, less than 25%, ideally, as the percentage of body fat for our optimal longevity. This is the overall big picture scenario for weight and fat. So which diet really works? What is the secret to losing excess weight? There are, I would say, hundreds of diets, thousands, which are now available online, and we can get so many different foods, packaged drinks, nutrition supplements that will help us lose weight. I'm going to stick to the ones that as a cardiologist, we are able to recommend for our patients. Now, when we come to the question of COVID, this is the most recent challenge that we are faced with. Poor socioeconomic status, unhealthy diet, reduced level of activity. Certain races are more predisposed, leading to lung problems, heart problems, reduced fitness levels, reduced immunity, and leading to increased viral shedding and more risk of being affected by coronavirus, and also among people who have the COVID, higher risk for ICU, critical care, ventilation, and even losing life. So obesity directly increases our risk for coronavirus related mortality. I'm shifting gears. Corona started in 2020. Now I'm going back a million years to see where we came from and what is the ideal diet for human beings to survive and sustain our longevity. Even, I would say if we go back to 10,000 years, it's only 300 generations. 10,000 years is not that long. This is the time point when a lot of big changes happened in civilization. Basically, we started farming for rice, wheat, and other grains, which helped us settle. Before that, for 6,000 generations, 200,000 years, which is the majority of human existence, were hunters, gatherers, and eating much more, I would say, foods parallel to our animal ancestors, monkeys. And we were mostly eating plants, roots, nuts, grains, that sort of things only even before. But in our human history, there has been some meat. That meat came because as humans evolved, we became very, I would say, technical with using weapons like primitive stones, and we started using fire. So this allowed us to process meat and consume a more palatable version for our GI system. Before human beings, for 2 million years, Homo habilis, we were still already scavenging some meat. But before that, 5 million years ago, we were mostly eating nuts, fruits, roots, and that was how our ancestors evolved. So the reason I go back this far is because many people question, oh yeah, I can thrive on a keto diet, I can thrive on this diet, that diet. But this is how our entire human evolution happened. Predominantly plant-based, there is a little bit of meat, and that meat is not naturally something that we hunt like other animals do. This is something that we scavenge from the hunt of other animals, or we hunt as groups, and using primitive tools with fire, we are able to process the meat, basically cooking it and making it palatable for us. Then you may ask, why do we even need meat? This is because from the traditional Africa and maybe India and other tropical areas, people started migrating to more extreme weathers. In those weather conditions, for several months with prolonged winters to survive, meat was a good source of energy. That's how we seem to have moved towards meat over the last hundreds of thousands of years. So now coming to what we know by science, this is one of the very few papers looking at a diet that can reduce heart attack. And this diet is called the Mediterranean diet. This is the one that has been proven. What is involved in the Mediterranean diet? Predominantly, it's again plant-based with multigrain and whole food, brown rice, brown bread, and quinoa type grains, plenty of fruits, vegetables, some olive oil, some dairy products, and some fish and chicken with very, very little red meat, maybe once a month for an occasion. But every week they may have once or twice some chicken and fish. So this is how the Mediterranean diet works. And if you look at this Mediterranean lunch, I ask the question, which is the most important ingredient? Is it vegetables, nuts, wine? The answer is, my request again for people to mute your system so that we don't have any interference. I'll go and try and mute. Yeah.
That's to mute yourself. Yeah, you should. Oh.
Yes, I think I've got everybody muted again. Okay. So the most important ingredient here is the company. People actually spend time cooking and celebrating food with their families. So that is how this becomes more of a group effort. So the next diet, other than the Mediterranean diet, that is something that we talk about in cardiology circles, is DASH diet, dietary approaches to stop hypertension. This again is very similar to Mediterranean in the sense it has plenty of fruits, vegetables, multigrain servings, and very little red meat. The important thing is to minimize processed food and empty sugars. So this is another view of the same DASH diet, which is useful, especially for people with high blood pressure, to get this under control. And this is the diet which I personally feel may make the most sense based on our human evolution over the last hundreds of thousands of years, predominantly consuming vegetables, some fruits and multigrain, and then a little bit of healthy fat that comes from a little bit of nuts, avocado, and very little oil. There is no oil that is good for us. The least unhealthy oil would be olive oil and few oils like that. So if you go to a more and more plant-based diet, there is some risk of vitamin B12 deficiency, vitamin D deficiency, and things that we need to watch out for, like iron and zinc as well. So this is a summary of various diets. If you look at reducing diabetes risk versus reducing or better control of diabetes, there are different options. And the one diet that we talked about was the Mediterranean diet to reduce heart attack. And then for people trying to lose weight, there are so many diets that have shown about 2 to 5 to maximum 10% weight reduction. And then the diets that have reduced blood pressure, we know which are the DASH diet and low-fat diet. The thing is, we want to find a diet that works for everyone all the time. Now, which diet is that? It does not matter which diet we pick. Within 1 to 2 years, we are going to anyway give up 95% of the time, whatever pattern that we try to adopt. We're going to go back to our old ways. In that case, what is the right way to eat? Not only the diet, how we eat becomes equally, if not more important. So this is a mindful eating scale where we would like to be somewhere between 4 and 7. 4 is when we start feeling hungry, we eat some good food, and by 7, we are feeling full and comfortable. If we are not mindful, we may overeat and get uncomfortable, feeling stuff and feeling sick. We don't want to get to 9 and 10 at all. So if we keep cycling between 4 and 7, for every meal, we can maintain ideal body weight. We don't want to get to 3, 2, and 1. The reason is 3 makes us feel uncomfortable, 2, we are really hungry, and 1, we are starving. And if we start eating at that point, after waiting too long, we may end up overeating. That is the thing we want to avoid or minimize. So stay between 4 and 7. If you're already at a perfect weight, BMI of 22, body fat percentage of 25 for women, percentage of only 15 for men. It's hard to get there, but if you're already there, that's fine. This is the summary for people to eat mindfully. Breakfast is the most important meal. If you don't want to miss any meal, then it should be breakfast. Try to have protein with it, so you would optimize metabolic and endocrine systems through that, insulin levels optimized. Eat with family and connect and appreciate food gratefully. Religious teachings tell us to pray, and then we go back to other distractions as we eat. The eating itself should be more of a intuitive and holistic process. Don't think about any soft drinks or other drinks that would be needed. Best is just water. And the word snack, I tell my patients just to forget it, because most often it's challenging to find healthy snacks. And this is becoming lesser and lesser in our busy world, cooking at home. Cooking is a process where we can control the amount of unhealthy ingredients and make sure food is optimal nutrition for us. So cooking is important. If you can do it at home every meal, that would be the ideal way to optimize our health. And the important thing is, when we go shopping, that's when we have to avoid picking up unhealthy things. The simple rule of thumb is 9 out of 10 things sold in the grocery stores are unhealthy, but they are sold because we live in a free world. People buy it. The shopkeeper is not selling things to make us healthy. They are selling things that would sell, and the people go there because they just think this is what is the norm. But the norm itself we can rethink and gain more health through that process. So basically, if you pick up 1 out of 10 things, think again and make sure you pick the right things when you're at the shopping mall. And then eat slower. Take 20 minutes for each meal. This is the most important thing. So today we are in the second session where we are talking about the huge diet. We haven't gone into it yet. Last week we covered what the role of self-inquiry might be in our health. And next week we'll talk about different options that have now come up in the last 1 or 2 decades and show significant promise in improving our exercise ability. I'm not only talking about healthy people. This session is meant to help cardiac patients who already had bypass, who had stents, improve their health. So we have so many exercises that can be safely done and can help everybody, including heart patients. And then the next session, July 6th, we'll try to discuss stress. July 13th, we'll talk about finding meaning in life. And the last session will be putting all these things together. So today, is this a talk about preventing heart disease, general prevention methods, cardiac rehab? Is this a wellness clinic? Is this a lecture? Are we trying to transfer knowledge? This is a picture, 3 pictures that I took yesterday morning between 5:15 and 5:45 around sunrise in Colombia at Bethel Park. And they're all the same scene. And it's so beautifully changing early in the morning. So this is the experience of life itself. So this is what I am truly grateful for having an opportunity to go outside and take a look at this sunrise and experience it. So this I cannot transfer by way of a lecture. So this picture shows what I felt yesterday. So today's session is not about what knowledge that we communicate. It's honestly, this high life is the experience of your reality every instant starting today. That is what I'm inviting you to do. So do listen for the next 20-30 minutes. We'll finish up this discussion, but then I want you to take this as a experience and do it for yourself and see how it might make sense in your own terms. So this is what we discussed last week, and to summarize, we talk about 14 hours of not eating overnight and being gratefully connected with that hunger. The next thing is exercising for about 30 minutes and being aware of how we engage in it. And then 2 minutes of something that you're grateful for that you talk aloud, and then stay silent for 5 to 10 minutes. The last thing is finding something out of your routine. You already might be doing some nice things to people around you, but still find one more thing for 1 minute where you bring a smile deliberately to somebody you don't know. And that compassion builds directly the confidence that will give the trust and meaning in our life. So the summary is 20 smiles every hour. That's what we request everybody to connect with. And for that smile, it takes different depths of gratitude. So this is Valluvar, who 2000 years ago said, Nandri marappadu nandrandru, nandralladu andre marappadu nandru. Remember with gratitude the help rendered by someone, but forget any harm instantly. Is it that easy? No, but we can still forget and forgive right away as it is happening, and then move ahead with that gratitude. See how much gratitude we can be filled with if we are able to move constantly through gratitude itself. So that is what we meditated last week on, being grateful for certain events that happened in our day, or for the people and circumstances. Like for instance, I'm a doctor working in academics. I have a family with 2 children who are motivated. So that is my circumstance, my family. Like that. Lastly, and most importantly, we can be grateful for being alive as a general state of being. So that is a little more profound, but gratitude can be experienced every day. And next we are going into hunger-based gratitude experience. And that actually makes this gratitude more, I would say, easy if we participate in hunger. So that's what we will do now. My request to you is to walk around in your house find a glass that has a little bit of water in it and bring it to yourself. Then we will go ahead with the rest of this, what I would say is practice. So for the next 2 to 5 minutes, we want to spend time with the water. That's why I requested you to go grab some water. I knew I was going to need it, so I grabbed mine. A little bit of water, but don't drink it. Bring it to your table, keep it close by, and then we will practice mindfulness. So the water is available. That is the key thing. Okay? So I'm guessing most of you might have already picked up some water and it's close by. We don't want Gatorade or Powerade or Coke or Pepsi. Just water is the ideal drink for today's session. So once you picked up the water and you have it, now I'm going to tell you the difference between starving and fasting. Starving means our ancestors were threatened by hunger. Today, because of coronavirus, a lot of people throughout the world don't have the money to procure food, so people are going to bed hungry. They are starving. Today's session online is with people who have sufficient food. That's why they have the opportunity to come to a meeting where we can improve our health. So today's meeting is for people who are not starving, but who want to try how to improve our health, maybe through fasting. The difference is there is availability and access to food and water, but we are voluntarily choosing to postpone the eating experience. So now we'll do the imagery. What we're going to talk about is close your eyes for a quick second. Think you're in an aeroplane. We are flying across continents and our plane loses way. Luckily we land, but when we land, we've landed in the middle of the desert. There is miles and miles of desert, all 4 directions. It happens to be 12 o'clock at noon. The sun is right above you and it's hot. Now we start walking, thinking this is the direction to civilization. And we keep walking for half an hour. We walk for another half hour. Whatever little water we had is already done with, and we are still so thirsty. Our tongue is dry, and we try to continue to walk. I can already feel my throat getting dry, imagining that we are in the desert heat, sweating and trying to find some civilization, some water somewhere. We walk another 1 hour. We are at our body's limit. We are really, really, really thirsty. Let us spend another minute quietly experiencing how we can push our body now at its limit. We want to push it beyond its limit to see if we can find some water. We hope and expect there to be some water. But let's spend a minute imagining this challenge that we are putting our mind and body through. Okay, we did find some water. I got mine. Now comes the real mindfulness experience. Take your time, there's no rush. Take only a small sip of water and let that water linger in your mouth before you actually gulp it down. Okay, let's go drink it. Did you like the water? I'm sure many of you like this water more than the water you had in the last 1 week, 2 weeks, maybe in the whole year prior to today. Right? So that's what the mind does. Once we imagine the challenge, then the water becomes such a gratifying experience. So when my patients tell me, Doc, suggest some other drink, some sweetened water, some soft drink, something else, I just can't take water. The reality is we've conditioned our thinking to move towards other things. We really want to experience the reality, which definitely includes water. So thirst is part of where we come from. Hunger is a very, very natural experience. And this itself can be dhyana or meditation, which is the source word for Zen. So self-inquiry is about understanding who I am, what is life about. But to break it down to the most essential form, the question I would invite you to ask is, can I stop consuming and be grateful? And if the answer is yes, then don't consume food, don't consume excess water. Wait till you're really hungry and then have the next meal. So that is where the message is. So this is going into our experience of fasting. 2 years ago in Slovenia, we went hiking, and that mountain peak is what our guide said we need to reach. I thought he was joking, but in reality, in 4 hours, he got us all up there. That's my wife and daughter. And I was very proud reaching that peak. This is the guide. The story is about him. I've invited him to today's session. I don't know if he was able to make it. He's in Slovenia, where I think the time is about 6 p.m. right now. He's a chef who was working 15 hours every day. For several generations, they don't have any religion. They're atheists and communists, and never been in an aeroplane because he's not able to afford one. And he didn't have much savings. He had lost his only 4-month-old child a few months ago when he became this tour guide for us. Instead of being a chef, when he chose to become a tour guide, he was accepting a job with much less income. But he feels food is taken for granted. People lose value when you pay money for food, which most of us do now, right? And he himself eats only 1 or 2 meals every day, despite being very fit, and he could run 5 mountains like that every day if he chooses to. He's that fit. So that was eye-opening for me. If being outdoors and that fit, he survives on lesser food, why am I going around eating 3 meals every day being a doctor? So that made me think and figure out how I can get healthier by not eating as much food. So 2 summers ago, he started me in my inquiry into myself. And this has been in our culture for ages. Gandhi says, there is no prayer without fast and no fast without prayer. God comes to the hungry in the form of food. And there are so many ways we can fast. Overnight, 12 to 14 hours, 16 hours, 3 times a week, 18 hours on several days. Once a week, you can do up to 19 to 21 hours, or the full fast is considered 24 hours, but some can go all the way to 36 hours. Beyond that, it is not recommended. So when we talked about the hunger scale, what will happen if we don't give the body food? Obviously, within a few hours, say if we had breakfast, by noon, we're going to feel, starting to feel hungry. By 1 or 2 in the afternoon, we'll feel really hungry. By 3 o'clock, we're going to be grumpy and starving. What will happen if we go beyond 3, 4 p.m. without lunch? Will we faint? No. We'll make a choice, right? This is what is available when I walk through the hospital I work at, which is the most healthy choice in all the pictures that you see. The foods, the drinks, the healthiest thing is what is down below, the empty folder. What I'm trying to say is most of these things are hurting our health. That's what I'm trying to say here. So my request to you is to smile, to try and relax. Although it seems counterintuitive, drink plenty of water. When you're not eating and drinking water and smiling, what does the body do? It realizes the mind is playing a trick. It's not giving me food. It goes into natural ketosis. What happens at this point is the liver is done with its stores of glycogen. So we may go into what is called fat burning. For that, water is very important. Smiling is very useful. So it tells the body to go quickly into fat burning. And once ketosis sets in, we can go on for several hours without again feeling too hungry. For me, when I do this fasting, I continue to feel a little hungry, although the acute craving goes away. But the hunger never leaves me. So I'm hungry till I have the meal. I may go on for 14, 18, 24, all the way up to 36 hours I've done fasting. But I do continue to feel hungry. It never leaves me completely. So this is the different types of hunger. Emotional craving is what ends up letting most of us eat, because kids say, I'm hungry for ice cream. So that is people when they are stressed at work and challenges and whatever social distancing issues, everything that we have to face in life, we translate it into eating a little bit of food that makes us a little comfortable. So that is emotional eating. For me, most of my life, I've been a habitual eater, by which I mean I had 3 meals on the clock so that I could go to school, go to being a doctor, doing whatever I needed to do. But then after traveling in Slovenia and seeing somebody who is doing everything I do and more without eating as much food, I started experimenting with physical hunger. Here, we don't eat just for the sake of eating. Just because it's lunchtime, we don't eat anymore. We can eat if we are truly, truly hungry. And that is what I'm continuing to explore. This is an ongoing journey. I'm going to continue this exploration, hopefully throughout the rest of my life. So if we do this intermittent fasting once a week, what do we gain? Directly, our risk of coronavirus infection and suffering from its complications goes down, because our immunity is boosted when we do intermittent fasting for anything more than 14 hours. So up to 14 hours every night, and then once a week up to 24 hours is what we are encouraging people to try, so that we may cope better with coronavirus immune issues. Second thing is we may improve our risk for preventing diabetes and to reduce excess weight, to optimize our heart health, and to reduce by 70% the chance of developing cancer. All these benefits through intermittent fasting for up to 24 hours once a week. And on top of that, we can easily manage 12 to 14 hours overnight. So depending on where we are, whether we are sedentary, excess weight, or really morbidly obese, we have to really cut down on what we eat. We may all be eating the same amount of food. Whatever our weight is, we may have to cut that much out of our intake. So people who are really trying to lose weight may have to every day cut down so much of calories so that they may be able to achieve the type of weight reduction that they are targeting. So here comes our hunger-based gratitude experience. I took long enough. It's already nearly 40 minutes since we started. So intermittent fasting is a lifestyle choice, whereas hunger-based gratitude is a meditative process. That's the real difference. All the health benefits, plus there is so much benefit for resilience, optimal mood, and energy levels. All these things you get with continuous fasting. Ketosis happens maybe the day you fast, whereas here you might be able to go into ketosis several times a week. And here people are fasting so that they can go back to eating, whereas fasting is a way of life here. And hunger is still considered an unpleasant thing you cope with once a week, whereas hunger is accepted as a sign of being alive, and we gracefully accept it. Intermittent fasting, I believe, will allow you to live 100 years, whereas the hunger-based gratitude experience will definitely do all that, plus make you feel so much more alive today. So this is only my experience, but also so many of my patients have taught me how this can be done safely at their own home, where instead of losing 10 to 20% calories every day, they're able to lose 30, 40, 50, maybe even more calories, and thereby improve their health. So the continuous fasting helps you not only cope with the things that we talked about, but also depression, anxiety, compliance with any other habits that you want to improve, like exercise, and many people are trying to cope with smoking cessation challenges, so many things. All this will be improved if we participate in gratitude-based hunger experience. And much more importantly, you will be able to connect with more trust with the people that matter in your lives. Want to skip this? So people who are below normal BMI, we don't recommend any fasting, but people who have normal BMI, you could still fast, but on the other day that you're actually eating, you'll have to be so much more careful that you get a little more calories. But for anybody with a BMI more than 22, you could do once a week intermittent fasting to get to below 22 BMI. Why do I want you to get to below 22 BMI? 25 is normal. The answer I'm going to tell you through the lesson these monkeys teach us. Both these monkeys are 27 years old. By monkey years, it is pretty old. The monkey on the left side looks its age, whereas the monkey on the right side looks way younger and is that much more agile, jumping and running and doing much more like a much younger monkey. And the reason is the monkey on the right underwent a 30% calorie restriction. These are all healthy monkeys undergoing calorie restriction and eating any diet. We are not talking about plant-based diet or keto diet. They eat monkey food, but 30% lesser food than they need. So that reduces their risk of cancer, heart disease, and diabetes, metabolic syndrome, obesity, hypertension, hyperlipidemia. They all completely disappeared. There was not a single incidence of any of these problems in the red group. The red group is the calorie restricted group. And that same group ended up living way longer, way healthier. So this is an eye-opener for cardiologists. The studies have been done in all the animals, from unicellular organisms to worms, to snakes, to monkeys, and everything seems to increase lifespan by 30, 50, sometimes even 100%. Some small animals up to 300% increase in lifespan. And this seems to be through reducing inflammation. And this is the gist of a study that has now been done in humans, where 25% calorie restriction for 2 years resulted in 10 kilogram weight reduction when the BMI to start with was already normal. These are not obese human beings. These are healthy, young human beings who are roughly in their 30s with normal weight of 25 BMI. Their BMI dropped to 22, the magical number we are talking about. And their weight, their cholesterol numbers, and insulin resistance levels, all these were already normal to start with. And within the normal range, it became more normal. What I'm saying is 35-year-old became a 20-year-old metabolically, biologically. That's what happened in this human study called Calorie2 that is published last year in Lancet. Bottom line, if we reduce calories in the x-axis, we can increase our longevity. It's not infinitely, so you cannot just stop eating. We have to restrict calories until we get to the ideal BMI, which was not 25, which is now 22, which is a fat percentage of 25 for women, and for men, ideal is 15% body fat. So whether we are trying to lose weight, whether we are trying to participate in athletic events, or just go on with our life, or if we have children at home who we want to show how they can be more meaningfully engaged with their health, we have to try and participate in hunger-based gratitude experience. That is the simplest way to incorporate this meditative process in our own health. This is a patient of mine who did this more than he needed to. I asked him to do this once a week. He did this for 54 days without food. He went. So for him, the question of half full, half empty does not arise. He just drank water for 54 days at home. Last few days, he ended up in the hospital because when you don't eat food for more days, not only fat, but also the muscle is lost. So that's not something we recommend for more than 24 hours, but he did 54 days. In those 54 days, his weight plunged. And then he regained some muscle. But the message here is not that you can go on fasting without food. The message is by participating in this gratitude experience, he found the strength since November until today to stay vegan. This is a 64-year-old gentleman who has so many health issues, including an appointment with a heart surgeon to get 3-vessel bypass surgery, who still hasn't kept that appointment. And now, when I repeated the ultrasound on his heart, the echo is actually improved from 40% to 55% spontaneously. And this is a person who was on 23 medicines. Now he stopped all his medicines, including the heart medicines. He's on a little bit of insulin, but on a vegan diet, without any heart medicines, his heart function has improved. So we are going to publish this story, not for the fasting, but for the vegan diet and for the strength that this hunger-based gratitude experience gives people, the confidence to move ahead with their health in their own hands. So this is him when he was still in the hospital after he broke the fast and requested a vegan diet. Our VA did not have sufficient supplies of what he requested of vegan items because nobody else asked for a vegan diet. So I would go to a local store and pick up some fruits for him every day so that he could gain his strength back. So this is the message for today. When you increase the level of gratitude for whatever you find meaningful in your day-to-day living, you will find it a little easier every day to go a little longer with staying hungry. We all need to stay a little more hungry. That is the only way to get more healthier. And once a week, we have to go without food. That they say is the simplest way to develop autophagy and not only reduce heart disease, but also cancer, and even more importantly, reduce our risk for dementia. But all that is for living 100 years. In the middle, I'm showing how you can achieve flow and connect passionately with your life, with whatever makes sense to you when you connect in this way. A patient of mine who participated in 2019 in Heartful Living has so many diagnoses. I'm not even going to read all the lists, but including her liver and lungs and heart, she had so many health challenges. And when I asked her last week, this is what she said.
She's been optimistic and always figured I had at least the glass half full.
Now, how do you look at your life?
Says my glass is always full and overflowing.
What do you feel? So she's saying, despite all her health issues, she's feeling great. And this is the next patient who at 73 lost so much weight because I asked him to fast 1 or 2 days in a week. And he ended up fasting 6 days in a week. And one day he would go out and eat food he liked. When I say 6 days, only one meal he would have for 24 hours. He would again go without food each day of the week for 6 days. So he now feels 10 years younger. He is off several medicines. And he is somebody who I thought may not even survive, but now he's doing so well. This is another patient who is again with so many heart issues. She's now off half the medicines. And after 2 years, when I called her recently, she's asking me, what more can she do to get even healthier? That energy comes from within themselves, not because of anything that we can give. So that confidence and energy comes from participating in more and more fun activities. This is the patient I might have shared last week who was sedentary until the heart attack and stent. And after that, he's now engaged in more and more heartful living and more gratitude. And he started winning these medals last year. But now he sent me an email saying he's first time fitting into a 34-inch pant. And now after fasting for a few months, he's feeling 25 years younger. So all this is the motivation for our ancestors, food, shelter, survival, but they were walking and running every day. But now because our modern lifestyle does not demand it, we are still busy, standard American diet, feeling sedentary and lonely, we have let ourselves become more unhealthy. So through fasting, we don't become passive, we become actually more intense and more engaged and more creative and connected with our life. So that's what has been my journey, and so many of my patients have already done it in the last 5 years, so that I bring this to inspire you to try every day. There is no failure in this. We all are attempting the best we can to get healthier so that we can experience life to the fullest possible. So this is my friend, Timo. I asked him how he was doing, and a few weeks ago he shared this picture of his family Now he has 2 children instead of the one that he lost. So life will come through if we trust ourselves and move forward with hope. So I'm ready to stop here and take questions. We have only a few more minutes, 5 minutes before we stop. So this, I think we can leave it for next session. So people who haven't, let me stop this. I didn't realize so much time went by. I usually want to give about 15 minutes for questions. So today I have 15 minutes, but we'll give a chance for 1 question each so people can unmute themselves, ask a question. We'll go for a quick 5 minutes of question answers, and then I'll stay back for another 15 minutes of detailed discussions. We can start opening it up for any questions, very quick answers, and then we'll break up. Thanks so much. Appreciate all of you participating. Wish that you all will do this through the whole week until we meet next Monday, same time. Okay? Wonderful. Thank you.
How about that? Can you hear me?
Anand, best wishes from Shamlama here. She watched the show today.
Wonderful.
So that's
Thanks
Anand's great grand.
Thank you.
Nice. More and more I want.
Thanks for joining. She is my wife's grandma. So it's a pleasure. Every year she visits us here, but this year because of coronavirus, she's staying back in India. But glad that you could connect. Questions?
Doctor, I'm Jayashree here. I'm Maya's friend. I mean, about this intermittent fasting, I mean, do you eat, can you eat anything? Like I'm a vegetarian, and can we eat any number of times in the period you're not fasting? I've been trying to do this. I mean, incidentally, I just came across your video on YouTube, and that's when I started. And Maya also sent me the link. So 14 hours I'm trying to fast, but the remaining 8 hours, right? I mean, do I eat how many other times, or I just still stick on to one meal that time, and how effective it will be? I'm not a diabetic person, and I don't have any health issues per se, but I just definitely
so the
I'm
answer
on
for you is
healthier side rather.
Yes, if you want to just stay healthy, overnight 14 hours plus once a week 24 hours. That means if you have dinner at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, Wednesday again have dinner at 7 p.m. That way you get 24 hours. That includes the sleeping time. So that 24 hours plus every day 14 hours would be perfect. But in the days that you are eating, the other 6 days, you should eat normal, healthy, good food, 3 meals.
Okay.
Avoid snacking. Generally, for nobody, I recommend snacking and cola drinks and soft drinks and other things. I don't recommend for anybody. Excellent.
So Anand, what do you think about skipping breakfast in the morning?
There are studies done by our own university where we feel breakfast may be the most important meal. So if you're delaying breakfast, that is okay. But breakfast or lunch or the meal in the daytime is a good one. The earlier you have it, may be better. But it's sometimes challenging to wake up and first have breakfast and then fast all day long. But for me personally, when I do 14-hour fasting, longer 16-hour, I go for several days in the last 3 months. What I've actually been doing, to be honest, is basically skip breakfast. That's the easiest thing that works for my schedule. So really, it's not written in stone, but preferably have a meal earlier in the day. And if you have to skip something, dinner should be the first one to skip if you're also trying to lose weight.
Thank you.
Anand,
Dr. Chakalingam, may I ask you about dairy and cheese? Are they good sources of protein?
Yes, they are. And we don't need animal protein. There are plenty of plant-based sources of protein. And the benefit with plant protein is it is less formed, whereas animal meat-related protein is more formed, and that increases the unhealthy hormones in the body. So if you can eat plant protein, which comes from multigrain and beans and legumes and spinach and so many other sources, that might be even healthier. So we don't need to go to animal protein just for the sake of protein.
Okay, thank you.
Anand,
yes.
What about if you're going to fast like this 24 hours like that, our bowel habits will not go into constipation, will not disturb them because we need a bulk for it.
It doesn't that much. It may make a little, that one day maybe a little delayed, whatever, but we can work around it. And the main thing is, since you asked, the answer is fiber. The difference between simple sugars that are in sugar and sugar added beverages and soft drinks and juices versus real carbohydrates, complex carbohydrates, is that fruits and vegetables have so much fiber. So when we eat the real fruits and vegetables instead of the juices and other soft drinks, we'll get sufficient fiber that will, the question of constipation won't come anywhere near the picture if we eat the type of fruits and vegetables that we need, unprocessed, raw fruits and vegetables. Yes.
I have a question. I've been on this intermittent fasting for some time, for about 2 months now. I've been doing it for about 16 hours. Like I finish my dinner by 6 o'clock, and then next morning I eat around 10 o'clock. But then initially I was able to lose quite a lot of weight. I mean, I had inch loss. Like I could get from double XL to XL. But after a point, I feel that it's not working so much, and I don't know where, if I'm going wrong somewhere. Like I don't know when I break the diet, what I should be eating, and you know, and throughout the day, like what kind of food I should be eating. You know, the less number of calories. But if you could give me, or I don't know where to look up for a good diet, like the calorie restrictions. So I really don't know how to go find this, you know,
So what you are discussing is, first of all, I have to congratulate you for trying intermittent fasting and already seeing the benefits of it. So that is, I would say, the first step. Couple of things we have to look out for is, make sure that we don't get burnt out in the process, or everybody else is having fun with life, I'm the only one not eating. That sort of thing should not come into our mind. The second thing is, despite me trying all this, I'm not seeing further success. That sort of result-based fasting, that is, I think, the challenge with intermittent fasting. That's why I believe the success that I taught only intermittent fasting to my patients for the last few years. They are the ones who are teaching me hunger-based gratitude. So this is not fasting, this is more a meditation. That is what I'm next inviting you to explore. You've already done intermittent fasting for 2 months. My invitation is for you to start hunger-based gratitude as an experience for the next, I would say, 2 months. And after that, you will not give it up for all your life. I believe it will become part of who you are. And then wherever you want to be with weight, BMI of 23, 22, fat percentage of 35, down to 24, whatever number you want will become so easy for you to reach once you connect with that level of hunger-based gratitude. And that takes, I would say, at least a month of practice. And after you do that, I would recommend you to enjoy every food that you like. Celebrate food more and more. It is not in the quantity of food, but in the quality of the experience. So the more hungry you are, like today, we practiced drinking water. Like that, every time you sit down for a meal, you must be practicing gratitude. It is not saying a quick prayer and then eating. No, eating should be a prayer. And the way eating becomes a prayer is if by being a little more hungry every time. So you cannot escape this hunger-based gratitude once you participate in it. It will become part of who you are. That's what I'm trying to say. And then this, which diet to eat, which things to avoid, all these questions will find answers in things that you like. You will be able to enjoy everything that you like a little more. That's what I'm suggesting.
Thank you.
I am free now. I think it is 1 hour. So if people need to leave, I understand. But if people have questions, I'm here for another 10, 15 minutes. No worries.
I think I can answer. Hi, Anand, Rachna here.
How are you, Rachna?
Yeah, I'm fine. Auntie Divya, Divya's mom was online, right? I think I can answer this question of hers, that intermittent fasting, what kind of diet you should be eating. But if you're fasting, what happens is your hormones, the hunger hormones, you know, they get very well balanced. So there is no chance that you would sit and binge. If you are fasting even for a month, or even if you're fasting for few days, and when you break your fast, you would feel, in fact, you see next time, consciously when you eat, or even if you sit and eat, it just with a glass of water, you know, you'll get very satiated. You'll have that satiation. You won't feel like eating too much. You don't eat too much. In fact, after you do intermittent fasting, that's my experience.
Yes, it's my experience also. I start feeling sick if I'm eating a little more. You know, I start. I find it very difficult to eat something more.
Yes.
But I don't know. Won't see, maybe like what Anand said, then I should follow that. You know, gratitude
The
thing.
question
Like now,
with intermittent fasting is, the question still in our heart is, how much can we eat to stay healthy? That is what intermittent fasting is about. Whereas hunger-based gratitude is about the opposite question. How little do I need to survive and do everything that I need to do with my life? So that is the question. And when we try to answer that question through our life, then we find again and again that we'll be surprised how little we need. But you'll need lesser food, but more water, because ketosis requires plenty of water. But food-wise, you'll find that snacking completely drops off, and eating, you will again want to eat only when you're hungry, and you'll find that you're eating lesser. And another reason, like Rachna said, is our basic metabolic rate itself starts dropping. And that is a beautiful sign of being healthy. High sensitivity, CRP, interleukin-6, these are all cytokines that mark inflammation, autoimmune issues, and COVID-related problems. So all that we're going to test in the next 6 months to a year as we do more formal studies. But all these things drop when we drop the basic metabolic rate. So the most, you might have heard about anti-inflammatory diets. The most anti-inflammatory diet that you can come across is no food at all. So if you don't eat, there is no inflammation in the body. It's such a profound experience. And we can do that and teach our body to do everything it needs to do. I play singles tennis every day of the week, or I bike 30 miles, and I'm still able to do that despite the fasting. So we are teaching the body how it can perform with lesser and lesser external work load, which is coming into the body in the form of food. So that's how self-inquiry works. Excellent, excellent. Any other questions?
I've got one. You talk on that chart, gratitude and hunger, and then you got flow, moving linearly on the diagram. Is the gratitude referring to just gratitude for the food you're eating, or is it referring to gratitude for all areas in your life?
So now do you see the slide again?
Now I do, right there.
Yeah. So this comes from Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, where in the x-axis, he talks about skill, and on the y-axis, the challenge. So for a tennis player, if my skill is somewhere in the middle and I am having to play, say, Roger Federer, I'll be very stressed and anxious to try and score a couple of points and not make a fool of myself. But if I find somebody who I can compete with and who's also reasonably skilled without being too boring, who's never, somebody who's my level, who's played some tennis. So I may enter this flow, which means I can optimally engage and celebrate it without being consciously aware. So this is the science of optimal engagement, positive psychology. The book is called Flow by Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. And that concept, I feel, can be extrapolated to the whole of life itself. Flow does not have to be related to playing tennis or writing music. It can be while doing dishes or walking in the park, if we are gratefully connected. But how do we gratefully connect with just taking a stroll in the park? For that, the simple tool that my 80-year-old patient with one leg and having a stroke and kidney issue and heart issue and all that, they're able to do is through hunger. So that is what they are showing me is possible. When they say my life is totally full and I'm overflowing with joy despite a compression fracture and not getting out of bed for 3 weeks, what she is saying is her life itself is in flow. When I shared with you the 50-day fasting patient, he was so happy just to see me and just to be alive. on the 52nd day when he has not had any food, despite being weak and not able to get out of the bed. So what they are describing is being grateful for life beyond our logical mind. So for that, in our day-to-day practice, try a little bit more being grateful for everything that happens. And if you can't find gratitude, stay a little more hungry, then you'll be more grateful. So they work together, hunger and gratitude. That's what the huge experience is. And it will directly make you more connected with your life. That's what it is. Thanks so much for bringing this question again for me to clarify. Some more questions? Some more suggestions?
Anand, I'm going to say bye-bye. And I want to just tell everybody that my husband, Sham, follows Anand's intermittent fasting, but he only follows the 24-hour one once a week. And I think it's made a lot of difference to his general health and everything. So thanks, Anand.
Excellent. I'm so glad he's doing very well.
Thank you, Dr. Anand, for the refreshing and rejuvenating talk. I really enjoyed it. And I hope to keep in touch and follow the practices you are suggesting. Great.
Excellent. Excellent. Next Monday, same time, please join us. You will hear about how we can bring exercise into this graph.
Yes, great.
Excellent.
Have a good day, everyone.
Excellent. Any other
And for
questions?
people, the 14-hour fast,
Yes,
for people just starting with that, do you have them do it once a week or more often than that? What do you suggest?
For most healthy people, 14 hours overnight is really nothing, man. So, I mean, it's dinner at 7 p.m. and breakfast at 9 a.m. 12 hours, we can try first 1 week. And then the week after, we can easily go to 14 hours for most of us.
And are you talking about that every night or
Yes.
a few nights a week?
14 hours every night is possible. I'm inviting you to experiment with it. And all lifelong, we can go for 14 hours without any food at all. So that directly makes us more grateful for the food that we have in the other 10 hours. Straight away, every night, we get sufficient hunger. In the morning, we are going to start the day feeling hungry, and we don't need to be religious or practice any rituals. We can directly connect with the first meal in the morning, breakfast, brunch, or lunch, whichever it is, with more gratitude. So that's what it ends up being, this 14-hour overnight thing. Most days of the week, we should be able to do it.
You said what?
Most days of the week, we should be able to do it, unless we have other health issues.
And does it help with weight control just because you're not eating later into the evening? Like if you cut it off at 7 p.m., for instance?
14 hours overnight will give so many health benefits. It reduces, substantially drops off the risk for diabetes, hypertension, cholesterol issues. Weight control becomes so much easier. Heart disease, cancer, all these things come down if we can do 14 hours on several days, maybe most days of the week.
But starting that 14 hours earlier, like at 7 p.m. rather than starting at, let's say, at 10 p.m., is that considered better? So because you're not eating for those few hours before you go to sleep?
Definitely. People say after dinner, at least 3 hours, we should be up and around. Right after dinner, last meal, going to bed is never a good idea for anybody. Overall, if you choose to have dinner at 5 p.m. because you need to go to work at 7 a.m., that's fine too.
Anand, from what age you Anand, one question. From what age you want them to start? From what is the earliest, youngest age they can start, Anand, this type of programs?
I'm actually surprised because several countries and cultures that I've interacted with are saying children, whenever they are willing to try, they can do it. So religious teachings, I have been doing this for thousands of years for children above the age of, I would say, 10, where once a week they don't eat for 24 hours. Here in Colombia, there are Christian schools and churches where they are teaching that. And in India, there are. In Buddhist teachings, there are. So many cultures are doing it. But if you ask me as a scientist, 18 would be the cutoff for healthy people to start 24-hour fasting. 14-hour fast, everybody can. Above the age of 10, anybody can do that. And I sincerely believe even up to 18 or 20 hours, children above the age of 14, 15, they can try just to stay healthy. Because this gives them the type of, what I would say, practice for mind-body connectivity. Otherwise, there is so much unhealthy food and habits and cultural issues that make people have unnecessary habit of eating. To break that cycle, children, if they start at a younger age, they may be able to internalize it and make it a habit much sooner than adults can. So that's why I feel children should be the target, but science says above the age of 18, 24 hours fasting is safe.
And 14-hour, Anand, I have a question.
Yes.
Even if you're an asthmatic on inhalers and stuff like that, 14 hours is okay?
I believe they will benefit more.
All right.
Because asthma is also considered to be related to immune dysfunction.
Okay.
Psychosomatic components are there. I may not be getting the right word, but there's a lot of component where our mental stress may contribute to asthma. Our food habits may be increasing inflammation that can be contributing to more frequent or more severe exacerbations. So by fasting 24 hours, we will be clearing our body of toxins and reducing the chances of asthma also. I don't have the science for it, but I have all the indirect evidence pointing towards that being useful. So you have to tell us in a few weeks, few months, how it has helped your asthma by trying to for 24 hours once a week and 14 hours on most evenings.
We'll do that. Thank you so much.
Excellent.
Hello, Doctor. Hi. My name is Chetan, and I join you from Hyderabad, India. My question to you is, I underwent a surgery, angioplasty, 3 weeks back. I'm aged around 45. What is the best time for me to start the fasting, the intermittent fasting that you just mentioned?
We are trying to do home-based cardiac rehab. We have funding here to try and expand it in our VA system. Cardiac rehab means trying to get your strength and confidence back. All that is now being challenged by the coronavirus issues, because we have to be with other people in the same space, and the risk of infection makes us wonder whether it is safe. Last week, I met a patient who is in a similar situation, and I suggested maybe she can just do the heartful living, and the cardiac rehab can wait a few more months until we have a little more definitive control of coronavirus issues. Now, coming to the specifics of when you can start fasting, your body is gone through a huge surgery. People who have coronary stenting, they can start heartful living, I would say, within a couple of days. People with a heart attack, maybe after a week. People after a bypass surgery, maximum about 2 to 4 weeks. Once you're back to getting up, walking and doing stuff and going around your day-to-day life and feeling reasonable level of energy has returned to you, then you can, 3 to 4 weeks is, I think, a reasonable time for you to consider slowly experimenting with this. This is not a prescription. Intermittent fasting is a prescription, whereas hunger-based gratitude is more a self-inquiry or a self-exploratory process. So the answers all will have to come from you. But if you ask me when is a safe time to try, today is a good time to start trying, because we both met here and you are now connected with these ideas. Go ahead and start trying a little bit every day. And over the next few weeks, you will find your body is surprisingly finding more energy, and more than the body, your mind has more freshness, and you will start engaging more and more in how to find this connection with yourself.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Sala, how are you, Sala?
I'm very good, Uncle. Thank you for asking.
Oh, very good. You are looking much more younger after following the Anand's instructions.
Yes. Thank you.
And Anand, I want to make one small comment. Reduction of weight is mainly by diet about 90%. By exercise, maybe about 10%. Why I'm saying this one, if we're going to manage to cheat our stomach, I'm not going to give you more than 1/4 of what I have been taking. If you don't and try to cheat your stomach, then the internal organs will start talking themselves. The stomach will start talking to the brain, we cannot cheat so and so. and the internal organs talking allow them to do. The stomach talks to the brain, and then brain talks to the liver. You got energy stored everywhere in the fat. Why don't you utilize it? It no more is going to feed us further. So the best way of reducing weight will be by dieting, making the internal organs to talk instead of feeding all the time, unnecessarily overloading your stomach. The stomach used to say, for example, 3 chapatis or 4 chapatis, stop it with 1, fill up with water. Then the stomach will talk to the brain, no, hereafter you won't be feeding us, you will be restricting. So make the internal organs to stop. That is stomach to brain, brain to liver. That the reflex one will make them to go into ketosis. What is the comment on it?
Definitely.
So allowing that organs to talk, that is enough. Thank you very much. Excellent one.
Thank you.
Anand, I would like to say something. My mom is a lung patient. I'm just telling the other viewers, and I told my mom about the intermittent fasting. Me and my daughter is 17 now. So both of us have been practicing it even before Anand had told us, but we are seeing a lot of difference. But forget about all that. My mom is seeing a lot of difference in her health. She's feeling quite energetic. She's not having pains. She's not having any kind of inflammation that she used to have in her feet. She's finding it much better. And she says that not like weekly twice, she's not able to maintain probably 16 hours, but she definitely manages to do for 14 hours, which I'm very glad. So I just want to tell you, thank you, because you have brought this on a very bigger platform for people to understand it in a better perspective. And, you are giving such good cues about it and how it has to be done. You're explaining so well to the viewers. So I really feel very, very thankful to you. And I'm very, very thankful to you for conducting this kind of webinars where people are being more aware about it, Earlier, this was just like I said, me and my daughter were doing even before you spoke about it, is because I believe in Ayurvedic food and Ayurveda and everything. So I told my daughter to do it, and she feels very energetic. Both of us feel very energetic. That way we don't have any drop in our energy levels. But what I'm trying to say is, these kind of webinars really help so many patients on the forum. Like my mother, she's so happy with this intermittent fasting. She was sitting with probably suffering with the swelling in her lower limbs, is because of reverse circulation not happening very well. But now with this, she feels it's much better. So I'm very, very grateful to you, Anand. Thank you so much. I'll try if she could join your webinar probably next time.
I'm so glad. I'm so proud.
I'm
happy
really
for
very, very thankful to you.
I'm so happy for your mom. Wish her for us. So this one thing I wanted to quickly show you is 2 people who are 60 years old. One looks like a 75-year-old, whereas the other one looks like a 35-year-old, 45-year-old. The reason is every day, this is what we do in echocardiography, looking at hearts. And age is not how many years we've been here, but how many more healthy years we have looking forward. So these are my collaborators in exercise physiology: Jill Kennelly, Christy Burgeon in positive psychology, behavior, pro-social behavior, and Tiaga, my good friend in Coimbatore, who's helping us get this HilifeJourney website. So these are all the collaborators I just wanted to thank real fast and invite you all to participate in HilifeJourney so that you can track for yourself within a minute how many hours you've done, what exercise you've done. And it's more a diary for you. But for us, at the end of 5 years, we may be able to say people at this level have gotten overall to this level. And I believe that science that we can develop from this website will help our communities get more confidence towards living more holistic and healthier lifestyles. Excellent, excellent. Any other last couple of comments before we break up for today?
Will you be putting the PowerPoint up on your website?
Yes, yes. So if you just register into HilifeJourney, the first 5-10 minutes, you'll have a lot of questions to answer, but that doesn't come back for 3 months. It's only at the end of 3 months for you to see how you have improved for yourself. So that first 5 minutes, 10 minutes maximum questions. After that, it's just less than a minute each day. But you will find in the meeting section, last Mondays and today's and all these sessions, we will post it in there.
Great, because I wanted to see the charts again that had all the suggested foods and how much of each of them. I think that's very helpful.
And one quick thing is when we talk about specific food and specific number of hours that we are fasting, all that is still theory. The reality is how we feel. That is the only thing that matters. When you do this hunger-based gratitude, you're going to feel tired. You're going to feel a little hungry for the first few days. But once it starts connecting with your energy, then you will find that yes, you are hungry, but you're actually more energetic. So all our life, we thought food gives us energy. Now we will realize being hungry is where we draw our energy from. So that is what you will find for yourself. And after that, what food we eat and what snack we have, all these things will slowly become less relevant. Once you connect with this habit, then all these things don't matter much. We'll be actually eating exactly what we need to get to where we want with our weight and with our health. So it will be mostly an intuitive process.
That was a very enlightening talk, Anna. Very nice, very interesting. And every time I hear you, I'm more and more motivated to go beyond 14 hours, 16 hours, and probably 24 hours very soon. So you also touched upon the home-based cardiac rehab. So that is kind of becoming more and more important during these times of the COVID. And I'm glad that in Chennai, we are able to provide some home-based cardiac rehab for people in and around, South India, even the northern parts of India, because cardiac rehab is just developing in India. I'm sure it has a lot of commonality with the, dietary guidelines that you just mentioned. Of course, fasting is one end of the spectrum, but again, once people are comfortable and get back to their normal routine after a cardiac problem, then it's up to them to start trying out, whatever they feel like to make them feel more healthy and to lead a more meaningful life. Thank you so much for that session.
So Priya's website is Cardiac Wellness Institute, right, Priya?
That's right, yeah.
So, yeah, it's amazing work you're doing to help our community, especially in the COVID time. It's so challenging to come to a rehab center. If you're able to help people from their own home, it's going to make it so much more easier and safer for them. Excellent.
Absolutely. Work. So we are also, into this research journey, trying to get some work done and publishing simultaneously. And thank you for all the academic help that you're also offering us from the US. So look forward to the coming sessions as well. Thank you, Anna. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you.
Anna, what I'm thinking, last one comment, when you are stressing out of time of the fasting, for example, morning 9 a.m. to evening 7 p.m. the day, we must specifically instruct them what is the total calories. They can't be just like they're taking food as they want. We hope that because they're going to fast, they can take anything like that. So you must instruct them what is that way they must be when they're taking food.
When I come to this program, I've stuck to just keeping it like, what should I say, self-inquiry based. Because cardiac care is different, diabetic care is different, nutritional, metabolic, dietitian, all these things. There are so many people that are involved in an individual's health. But this forum itself, I've kept it designed it in such a way that it is intuitive. See, all these things about how many hours, which foods, how many calories, all this is involving the logical mind. Whereas if we connect with this gratitude, we will not need that calculation. That is what my thinking is. And that is what our patients are showing also. Doc, we don't have to worry about what we eat. We are able to celebrate food now. We are able to celebrate life itself. At that point, you don't really need to worry about what you are, whether you are eating this much calories or not. Because if you connect with hunger, then you're not going to eat unhealthy calories. So that's where it comes from.
Why I have stressed this point, suppose you're going to go 24 hours tomorrow. The temptation will be we take more food today. When you break 24 hours, next day they may think they will go like to compensate. The human tendency is. So for them to please instruct them what they think should be, then it will become part of their life, then they will start enjoying what they're doing. So the general tendency will be, okay, I'm going to fast now, tomorrow for 24 hours. Why not to take more?
There is
After
a
that,
where intermittent fasting is not helping people lose weight because basic metabolic rate goes down, as well as people tend to overeat before and under exercise, so they balance out everything. So that's why, for that same reason, I feel giving them more knowledge is not going to solve it. Giving them more intuition, people a chance to really connect with their body through the hunger, I think, and then once they become comfortable with being hungry, then this need to snack, the need to have more calories will drop off naturally itself. That I feel is a much more sustainable long-term solution rather than trying to force our body to participate in more mathematical, logical processes. So that's why we refrain from giving them this many calories this week, next week.
another small comment.
Prescription we've stayed away from giving. And still we've seen this much dramatic weight reduction without specific criteria. And again, many of my patients are also older and they are challenged with trying to look at food labels. They can't sometimes go procure foods that they like. They can't cook at home. They end up getting food on wheels, things like that. So even despite that sort of challenges, without counting calories, they are able to sustain the weight reduction if they connect with the hunger itself directly.
What I personally feel when in the discussion, suppose you are going to take some time, very tasty food, doesn't matter about the calories, content, what does it matter?
Feasting is okay. If you like, one day you end
So
up
once
enjoying
in a
it.
way, if you're taking that is going to give satisfaction, doesn't matter. It does not matter. As a matter of fact, anything you can take, nothing will happen, provided you are cautious about overall your food habits.
Correct.
Anyway, I appreciate Anand, really great job you're doing.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions? Wonderful. Thanks so much. We'll see you next Monday, same time. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Anand. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Doc. Bye.
Bye-bye.
green tea எல்லாம் சாப்பிட்டோம் weight குறையுது easy